Well, welcome everybody to the online virtual Seattle Java users group, right? Today's session is DevOps for Java developers, or maybe against them. and this is essentially the first series of the year. We're going to try to be safe. So we're probably going to be virtual for a little bit until it's safe for us to reconvene together. So expect more of these coming through as in the online format. So who are we? If you're the first time coming here, we are essentially a user group dedicated to helping you. We're trying to create a vibrant community. We're trying to learn and contribute to the Java JVM ecosystem. We actually try to create programs for mentorship and career opportunities. And lastly is essentially to have fun and build cool things. So the first thing is, like, if this is the first time you're coming to a Seattle Java user group online meetup, for the next session, then share the love, share it with your coworkers if you like it. Invite someone new. It's super easy, especially since it's all virtual. So spread the love. Last, as a third point is, if you're always interested in the Java space. I'm never tired enough to say, like, the moment you start volunteer for organizations like this, it's kind of fun because you start to getting to know people that are, both presenters. You start, essentially expanding your networking, your network, and is for a lot of people that I know is career changing. So if you want to volunteer, we always welcome more volunteers. We always need people to help us from the website all the way to getting us sponsors to scheduling speakers. So, reach out by, dropping us a note at leadership@cjug.org, or if you are more comfortable in Meetup or Meetup, or Meetup, then just go ahead and do that. Just drop us a line to the leadership in there. We are, 2,000 members strong. I didn't know there is many more Java developers here in Seattle. So we want to make that number, break the 5,000 by the end of the year. Logistics, this is just a slide that we used to have, but now it's super easy. And just so you know, like, our speaker today is going to be Baruch. He is Jay Baruch. He is the head of DevOps advocacy and developer advocate for JFrog. He's co-author of the Liquid Software book. He's a passionate conference speaker. So I actually run into him like when we used to have actual, physical conferences. But he is a big on DevOps and anything that has to do with artifact management. This year and these meetings would not be possible if we didn't have sponsors behind it. And Baruch is actually he is JFrog, essentially, the way I always think about him. But JFrog is our sponsor for this. They're essentially our silver sponsor for the year, and they make it possible for us to actually acquire licenses and set up these things so we can actually do this online meeting. So we thank them, and I think Ari had a couple of words about JFrog and why we should use them.
Hey, thanks so much, Freddie. I really appreciate that. And that's true. Even before I joined JFrog, whenever I thought of JFrog, I thought of two things: our amazing T-shirts and yes. Baruch in his hat. He would be the one kind enough at the conference to hand me the T-shirt, even before I knew what JFrog did. So thank you for that. I'm going to go here and actually, Freddie, if you can help me, I think I need to be able to share a slide. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see here. Okay, cool. So happy 2021, everyone. Did you ever think it would get here? Well, it's finally here. So we're looking forward to an awesome year. My name's Ari Waller, and I'm the Meetup event manager for JFrog. And we are really proud to be a CJUG sponsor for 2021. I'll share a little bit about who we are. JFrog is a DevOps software company with a love for Java. We're known by many for our flagship product, Artifactory, which is written in Java and used daily by millions of developers and operations engineers across the globe. For tonight, JFrog is part of the fun part of my job is I get to be the one that tells people about really cool prizes. So Baruch's going to share a really important slide with you during his talk, but this is kind of just re-emphasizing that because Baruch has a lot of important things on that slide. But one of those things is on that slide is a link to a raffle. And we are going to be giving away an Amazon Echo Show 5. And one of 5 of our limited edition JFrog t-shirts. If you can see the shirt there, it is an Iron Frog shirt, one of our most popular ones for sure. And all of our shirts go out of print the year afterwards. So once they're gone, they are gone. So it's limited edition. We're going to give out 5 of those as well. You can enter with the QR code or the bit.ly link that you see. Of course, Baruch will give you a link later too, and I'm going to also drop in the chat. So you really have no excuse unless you just hate shirts and you hate Amazon Echoes. One other thing that not a lot of people know about JFrog is that we actually have created a free cloud-based subscription tier to our service. There's no credit card required or anything like that as well. So you get free tools like Artifactory and also some built-in vulnerability scanning capability. So if you're working on a project and you want to give it a test drive, it's a great opportunity to do so. I'll drop that slide in there as well. Again, absolutely free. So without any further ado, Freddie, I'm going to turn it back to you, or actually, or you introduce Baruch. Either one of us, are we ready to go?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Take it home.
There you go, Baruch.
All right. Okay, so now will be my turn to share. And I hope you can see my slides.
Yep.
All right, great. Okay, so as Freddie already mentioned, today we're going to talk about DevOps for Java developers, or maybe against them. So, you know, DevOps, what do you know about DevOps, or what you think DevOps is might not be what DevOps really is. The problem is that 10 years after this term was invented, no one still knows what it really means. I mean, a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't, including people who work in DevOps and still don't know what DevOps is. That's obviously a source for a lot of fun, and we're going to have some fun with that today. My goal by the end of the day, you will really know what DevOps truly is, and you will know its relationship to us Java developers. My name is Baruch Sadogursky, and I'm Chief Sticker Officer at JFrog. One day we will have our in-person meetups back, and I will come to you at Seattle JAG and bring you some awesome stickers. For now, you can follow me on Twitter for some shit posting and what's not. And this is kind of the main thing of this slide by now. This is my California, but also I think Washington State disclaimer. This is a chart from an amazing book, The Culture Map by Irene Myers. And it's a book about cultural differences. If you work in a multicultural environment, which you are, I strongly recommend you reading this book. The most confrontational and emotionally expressive people in the world are from Israel and Russia. I managed to be from both at the same time. So yeah, I'm going to insult a lot of people, offend a lot of people during this talk, and it's going to be fun. Just brace for impact. Something that Ari already mentioned, we created a special page for you. You go to jeffrog.com show notes. You will find there the slides already there. The video, we double checked that this session is recorded. So once Freddie is going to share with me the recording, I'm going to put it there as well. All the links to everything I'm going to mention today, the place to comment, to rate, and the raffle that Ari spoke about, 5 JFrog t-shirts, those t-shirts, amazing t-shirts, and an Amazon Echo Show. Good stuff. All right, so let's get back to us, the developers. And by us, the developers, I certainly mean myself. This is where I started, Java developer by trade and by heart, and still am. Java is my go-to language when I need to code something. So yeah, this is why I kind of know how the developers feel about DevOps, but I'm also now developer advocate and head of developer advocacy for a company which makes a very successful DevOps product that is used in implementing DevOps practices all across the world. So I'm kind of live in both worlds, and this is what gives me the right to talk about DevOps for developers. All right, so I promised you that it might very well be that DevOps is not exactly for developers, but even against it. And I will build a case now that DevOps is a movement that ops people came up with for a certain reason. Step by step, let's start with trying to understand how DevOps was born, who invented DevOps, and why. We can start analyzing where it came from by looking in one of the most important books on DevOps, The Phoenix Project. The Phoenix Project is a novel that tells a story of a certain engineer who came up with DevOps and eventually won by turning around his entire organization from a brink on disaster to a marvelous success. The cover of the book conveniently shows us all the main characters in the book. So we can see here Patty, director of IT service support. She's in ops. Ves, he's the director of distributed technology ops. He's an ops guy. Sarah, she's like the main villain. She's marketing or sales, or obviously the villains. Steve, he's acting CIO. Oh, here is Dick Laundry. Dick Laundry is the main protagonist. He's the one inventing DevOps and winning. And sorry, not Dick, sorry, this guy, Bill Palmer. And he is a VP of IT Ops. He's an ops guy. It's a story about an ops guy who invented DevOps and won. There are also Eric, board member. Here's a Bren. Bren is the senior, the most important technical person in the book, and he is a systems administrator, ops guy, and there is the chief information security officer. Note something? No developers. I mean, there are some developers in the book, also, pictured in a not very flattering way. The Phoenix Project is a book about how ops people invent DevOps and win. Let's look at the next book, the DevOps Handbook. That will be like the second book that you are going to read, and it's more practical. It's more like a how-to guide. This is why it's handbook, and it's written by 4 different people. One of them we already met. This is Jim Kim, and Jim Kim, who is the author of the Phoenix Project. I guess I made the case. He's telling the story about ops inventing DevOps. Let's look on the rest of them. So who do we have here? Patrick Dubois. Patrick Dubois came with the term DevOps 10 years ago, 11 years ago. He is a system architect. He's an ops guy. It's like system administrator, but architect. Jess Humble. This is the person who came up with another very important term, and that's continuous delivery. Wrote a book about continuous delivery. Very important person in our industry. He's a deputy director of delivery architecture. He's a software delivery guy. He's an ops guy. And then John Willis, one of the co-authors not only of DevOps movement, but also DevSecOps movement. He was actually VP of services in a company called OpsCode, which lately became Chef and recently died, almost died. OpsCode. OpsCode is a very, very ops concept, obviously. All the founders of DevOps have ops background. Not only that, if you just Google what is DevOps today, in 2021, you will see who is preaching to us, who is telling us why DevOps is important. Let's look at them. So New Relic. New Relic is a monitoring observability company. It's an ops concept. Amazon Web Services, obviously cloud platform for ops. CollabNet, okay. The Agile Admin, administration. Wikipedia, Atlassian, ops company, and then Azure, another platform for operations, And towards the bottom, logs.io, that's another monitoring ops company. So every time someone talks to you about DevOps, it's ops people that are pushing DevOps. The question is why? Why ops people are so obsessed with this concept of DevOps that they push very, very hard? So first of all, we can try and see what DevOps really means. At Quora, there are other resources. In a lot of them, you will get the impression that from, experienced people, Disha, DevOps trainer from 2013, that's 8 years of DevOps training. And what Disha suggests is a lot of ops stuff like Linux fundamental and cloud computing, right? And then just learn Gits. So it's basically you go ahead, you are a system administrator, you learn Gits, and now you are a DevOps engineer. And next thing you know, instead of getting that much, you're starting to getting that much. And that's 50% salary increasement right there, just because you rebranded yourself from system administrator to DevOps engineer and learn Gits. And you know what? The demand is soaring. 15,000 openings for DevOps engineer in the United States. And all the ops companies that are pushing DevOps are having a day with it. Certifications, training, courses, everything is about the ops people pushing DevOps really, really hard. And you can say, well, obviously now they can earn more, but that will be a mistake, because here we are confusing cause with an effect. We cannot claim that people came up with DevOps because they knew it will pay more, because 10 years ago, no one knew it's going to pay more. This still didn't happen. So we need to look for other reasons. And I'll give you a reason. And this reason is, let's look on how DevOps describes itself. This is the infinity loop. This is what DevOps supposed to be. It's an infinity loop of value stream that goes from plan all the way to code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor, and then we start again. And this infinity loop should probably look very, very familiar to all of you, because it reminds me and should remind you the agile infinity circle. Plan, design, develop, test, release, feedback looks very much alike, but what ops people did, they attached to this developer-centric context all the ops part, all the ops responsibilities. And what they said is, well, you developers, you are doing something. Now you are going to do more. You are going to do the other part of ops as well. And we can go and further prove it, why DevOps is attaching the ops part. Let's see where can we find it. This is the State of DevOps report. That was the most important, the significant research of DevOps economy in 2018 and 19, and we're going to get to the 19th edition as well. And if we look at this report, we can see how DevOps is measured. And this is very telling. Look, it's measured in 4 metrics. Deployment frequency, which is how we deploy code. Lead time to changes, which is what happened after the developers stopped writing code and now the code is ready. Time to restore service, stuff like unplanned outages when our servers go down, and change failure rate, which is about degraded services, again, you know, network troubles and stuff. All those metrics, all of those are completely operations concerns. The State of DevOps report also put a lot of emphasis on new work. And that obviously makes sense. New work is where the money is. New work is what our customers are paying now to. The question is, what defines new work? How new work is defined in the Phoenix project and the DORA report. Planned work, business projects and new features, that's the new work. Internal projects, and here we come with some strange stuff. Server migrations, software updates, those are ops concepts. And then changes driven by feedback on completed work, that's fine. And then again, support escalations and emergency outages. All the work that is described and kind of detailed in the Phoenix project and DORA report is ops work. This is all very, very interesting, but has nothing to do with us, the developers. For us, the work is simple. New work is writing new features, and then the rest of it is either bug fixes or refactoring the code. No outages, no degradations, none of that. Those are all our ops concepts that now the ops people trying to brainwash us and convince us that suddenly this is our job. And I hope I proved my point, and you can see now how by DevOps, ops people trying to solve their problems, the degradation, outages, and all that, by making us, the developers, buy into all this DevOps thing and actually doing not only one circle of Agile, but two circles, one of the development and one of the operations. And we will have none of that. Instead, let's talk about what considered work or done, or when we're finished from our perspective, the developers. I know there are some issues with the software craftsmanship manifesto, with the people who came up with it, whatever, but I think the principles are very solid. Let's look at them. Not only working software, but also well-crafted software. Do we want well-crafted software, good code? Of course we want that. Not only responding to change, but also steadily adding value. Of course, we want features that people use, not only individuals, but community of professionals. Yes, we want the community, not only customer collaboration, but productive partnerships. I think those are solid values, regardless of what we think of anything else around the software craftsmanship. And those values, if I break them down, I think I can come up with kind of a list with definition of done for a developer. So what is a definition of done for a developer? So first of all, we understand what needs to be done. Then we write code, which is reliable, simple, and understandable. Our code is easy to deploy. This is very important. Yes, it's not our job to deploy it, but it should be easy. We don't want to make anyone suffer. Non-functional requirements are met, stuff like security and performance and all this. We didn't incur any technical depth, even reduce some. Our tests pass, that's our responsibility. And the QA took a look and they're happy because yes, quality is part of our job. And then team lead took a look and they're happy. That's the peer review. And product owner, which is a proxy for a customer, for us, took a look and they're happy, which means that the customer or the client took a look and they're happy. And this is where we are done. Whatever happens after that, whoever deploys it, whatever they do in their ops silo, it's their problem. My job here as a developer is done, right? Right. I hate this online stuff. But yes, I can imagine you all nodding. Now I have a leading question. And this leading question is, how many of you think that there is a rivalry between the developer and the tester? And here, you know what? Let me go back to Zoom And you can write me in chat, like, you know what, put a plus if you think there is a rivalry between developer and the tester, and put a minus if you don't think there is a rivalry between the developer and the tester. Let's see what you think. Yeah, okay. I like it, great. Most of you, all of you actually, don't think there is a rivalry between developer and the tester. And this is exactly what I think. I completely agree with you. There is no rivalry. There is a collaboration in which the QA, the testers, actually help us, the developers, to do our job better, because quality is a part of our job. So if the testers help us, we are not in fight with them. It's the opposite. We are grateful to them for helping us, because quality is a part of our job. And you remember the Russia part? Here come the Soviet memes. So yes, it's important. Now, the question is, what is quality? How do we define quality? And I am a very old developer, so I remember days when the website of my bank looks like that. That's 10 years ago. And you know what? It was better than not to have any website. I could probably log in and do some stuff, like probably see the balance or whatever. But also, I didn't have very high expectations from the website or the digital service that my bank provided, right? Because if anything, I had to go to the branch anyway, and that was my kind of main interaction with the bank. So if here I saw a notification that they needed 12 hours maintenance Windows for update, which means to improve quality, I was like, sure, it's worth it. Just do better site, and that's okay. Obviously, today it won't be acceptable. Today we switched banks because we didn't like how useful their mobile application is. And I'm one who did it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. The requirements for quality changed. The tolerance of users and customers for what they consider quality changed. And not only that, we also have explosion of data. Code quality is not enough. My tests are passing is not enough. We tested in the QA lab is not enough. Even we tested in staging is not enough, because staging cannot mimic the production entirely because of the amount of data. It's either too expensive to create or just impossible to create. Think about the big sites, how they can even create something that remotely resembles production. They can't. And those big guys are more and more. So we don't have the luxury of verifying quality in front. We just don't have it. And that means that we as developers cannot really guarantee the quality. And this is a very disturbing thought, because we all just agreed that quality is important for us. So what do? Well, we test in production. We use what it's called progressive delivery. Progressive delivery is about releasing the software to a small amount of users, see if it works, and then progressively deliver it to more and more customers. Why do we start small? Because we want to reduce the blast radius. Things are going to bump, and when they're going to bump, we want as small amount of customers and users to suffer. How do we know that they went bump? Because we observe them. This is where observability comes in. What do? Well, we fix it. But we fix it in production. And this is where the first time us, the developers, meet production. This is the first time when we realize that to guarantee quality, which we agreed is our concern, we need to be there when our software hits production. And that means we need to be on call. That means that we need to be there when the code is deployed, and not only be there and sit there just because someone told us that we need to participate on-call meeting. We actually need to get our software to be ready to be fixed in production. What does it mean? How do we get our software to be ready to be fixed in production? Well, for that, we need to ask SRE if they are happy as well. What is SRE? Well, SRE is a term that was coined by Google, and it stands for Site Reliability Engineer or Service Reliability Engineers. And those are people who make DevOps happen. Those are people who are in charge of fixing the problems when they go bump at night. Those are the people that will tell us how our software need to behave in order for us to ensure the quality that customers look like. Those are our friends in the same level as the testers and the QA people are our friends. So let's see what they want. What happened? Yeah. So we understand how our code is going to be deployed, right? This is important because we will need to deploy it in 2 a.m. in the morning. We need to know very well how it is done. Our build is reliable, repeatable, and fast. We are going to need to build a patch. And while we build it, customers are suffering. We have a blast radius, we have casualties. In the production, we need the patch to be to be able to be built in reliable, repeatable, and fast. Our code is stateless, means scalable. Now, again, we don't stand alone. We need to throw more hardware on it. Can our software take advantage of this hardware? Our code starts fast and dies fast. Starts fast. Obviously, it goes into, we need to roll out the patch as fast as possible, but also we need to take down the misbehaving nodes. And that means that our code need to be able to die fast in order for us to replace it. Our code is observable. How do we even know that there is a problem and what the problem is? Waiting for people to complain on Twitter is not very effective and won't take us far. Our code need to tell its own story. Feature flags. Sometimes the fix is too long to write. Instead, we just want to turn off the feature that causing problems with a REST API. Our code is backwards and forwards compatible. Backwards compatible, obviously. We now are going to create a new patch, so old clients need to be able to work with it. But also, what about rollbacks? Now we release the new version, it misbehaves. Clients already updated, and now we roll back. Will the new clients be able to talk with old code? This is forwards compatible, and we need to be able to provide that as well. And our code emits event streams. This is also goes into how observable our code is. Those concepts look again very familiar, and they look very familiar to concepts which are described in what is called the 12-factor app manifesto. That's another manifesto about how you write code for the cloud native edge of microservices, containers, observability, and DevOps. And this is exactly the requirements. And if not all of them here, they're probably in one of the other many factor manifesto, like 16, 14, I don't know what's the current number. They keep adding new and new requirements for us to be able to respond better in real time in production, right? There is one more, and this one is our code is lean. And by lean, I mean the lean that saves money, the lean that eliminates waste, the lean that helps our business to cut costs when running in the cloud. And I'm talking about, yes, the AWS bill. And you might say again, what I have to do with it? I'm a developer. This has nothing to do with me. And again, there are surprises. Here is one great example. Uday from Signal Effects, now Splunk, gave a talk in Kafka Summit 2019 about achieving a 50% reduction in cross availability zone network costs from Kafka. And you cannot argue that Kafka is a developer concern. They used the right tool inside their product, the developers, and they saved tons of money for their business. Not only now we care about the quality in production, we also care about the business value of what we are doing. And why it is important? Because COVID, recession, crisis, what's not, next time the boss wants to cut costs, instead of laying off people or start charging for coffee and cookies, we can move to the cloud, switch to serverless, and start saving money by our own, the developer hands. And this is very cool because it also means that instead of worrying of layoffs and paying for coffee and cookies, we actually need to learn how to pronounce kubectl correctly, so we will be able to use those technologies and save money and provide value. And except of cost reduction, what else provides value for the enterprise? Obviously, more happy customers. How do we get more happy customers? Well, what customers want? They want features. When do they want them? They want them yesterday. Adapting those concepts of DevOps gives our team, our organization, and our company a huge leverage. This is again State of DevOps report. And you can see here elite performers, those who implement DevOps correctly, deploy code 2008 times faster than low performance. So if we are elite and our competitors are low performers, that means that we can beat them to time to market in releasing features 2008 times faster. Not only features, but also security. We can hire a chief information security officer, so we will have someone to blame, or we can release faster. The security competition is the competition in speed, and speed of reaction is a multifaceted thing. It's like with the stopping distances. When you have the speed of thinking and the speed of braking, both of them come together to stop faster. It's the same with security reaction. If we have a breach, we need to be able to identify as fast as possible, fix as fast as possible, and update the service as fast as possible. And this is where obviously DevOps come into play. And the problem is today, with the modern day and age of vulnerabilities, some threats are impossible to, well, it's Business Insider, they love their scandalous titles, but it's actually impossible to prevent. It's impossible to defeat by patching as fast as possible. And for that, again, we need to release 2008 times faster. And this is what DevOps gives us. So by now, I hope you understand that DevOps is an evolutionary pressure. It provides us with means to achieve quality, to achieve leanness, to achieve new features, and to achieve security. It's not bad, it's not good, it's not plot, it's not conspiracy theory. It's just something that came up to be in this day and age as the best tool to achieve all those. So it doesn't matter where it started. It doesn't matter who came up with it. It doesn't even matter why they came up with it. What matters is that DevOps is here to stay. And if you agree with me on that, it's a good time to start trying to understand what DevOps really is. So we'll look again at this infinity loop. And you might start wondering how it's even possible to be able to do all that by yourself. How can you be an expert in both coding, building, testing, deploying, and monitoring? Those are completely different concepts. How can you borrow from each and every one of them and then be this expert in the middle of everything, knowing everything? The good news are you don't have to. Those inside that know everything, those are unicorns farting rainbows. They do not exist. DevOps engineers that are expert in the entire infinity loop do not exist. Because DevOps engineer is about collaboration. And this is why the term DevOps engineer doesn't make sense. The term DevOps engineer assumes that you know everything about everything, which is not true. You have software engineers, which are primary developers or primary ops people or primary QA people. DevOps is about collaboration. DevOps engineers makes as much sense as collaboration engineer, and collaboration engineer is obviously not a thing. Instead, what we need to strive to become is not DevOps engineer, but T-shaped professionals. And T-shaped professionals basically means that you have the leg of the T, and this is your expertise, and it's very deep. You know deeply, for example, as we are in the Java user group, you know Java development very well. But you also have the wide top of the T, which you know about different concepts. You know about continuous delivery. You know about penetration testing. You know about stress testing. You know about different concepts. Now, if you take those T-shaped people that come from different backgrounds, there is a T-shaped developer and a T-shaped tester and a T-shaped operations and a T-shaped security, and then you bring them together, you create a empowered team of T-shaped people, and those teams are DevOps. Those teams are doing DevOps. Now, the last part is how things changed. So my claim that ops people came up with the concept of DevOps is still true. You saw it. It's just history. It's just, it is what it is. But things changed in the last 10 years. Even the ops people who kind of had an ownership of DevOps in the years past now understand that we all need together. It's empowered teams of T-shaped people of different varieties with different expertise, and they came along as well. So you can see, for example, State of DevOps report, the same report, only 1 year later, 2019, that's the last one that we have. And you can see here how suddenly more participants in the DevOps report are developers than DevOps and SRE. And you can see how the 4 metrics that we spoke about, the lead time, the deployment frequency, the change failure rate, and the time to restore service, now have software development as a peer, as one of the 3 peers: software development, software deployment, and service operation. This is now a huge part of DevOps, even for people who didn't mention coding at all in the previous years. And this is where we come full cycle to the beginning of the talk, to Jin Kim. Jin Kim, who wrote a book about DevOps where ops people are inventing DevOps and winning, wrote another version of the same story, the alternative timeline for the Phoenix project called the Unicorn Project. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same company in exactly the same trouble. But now the person who invents DevOps and wins is Maxine, and she is a lead developer. And this is a very nice trick by Jim King to show how you can come to DevOps, to realization why DevOps is important from either side, from operations and from developer development, and both of them are important. And you know what? If you are scared now that you will have to learn a bunch of ops concepts, don't be. It's the other way around. Ops people are coming to the development side. SRE, that I already mentioned, that those are the people who tell us what to do with our software so it will be easily operatable, actually now want to be developers as well. SRE is what you get when you treat operations as it was a software problem. Now suddenly everything is source and everybody are writing code. The whole GitOps movement, which really pisses me off, the term is really, well, the movement is great. The term is horrible, but it's about everything now is code, and who knows code better than we are? So this is very easy for us, knowing code, to also understand what code means for other concepts and become this kind of both sides of the house. So yes, good news. Yes, DevOps is an ops idea, but the business liked it. And because it means quality, it's lean, it's competitive advantage, and it's security. And it's not bad at all. Everything is code, and we love code as developers. All we need to do is to follow principles and practices, and we obviously know how to do it. And basically, I hope you realize by now that DevOps is great and it's good for us. It's not against us, and we will only benefit when DevOps takes more and more ground in our industry and becomes standard de facto. With that, thank you very much. I'm at Baruch on Twitter. This is the CJAG. I don't know if that hashtag is real, but let's make it real. DevOps is another good hashtag to use when you tweet about this talk. Jeff.com show notes. I remind you, the slides are there. Going to upload the video, all the links to everything, all the books, everything is there, and your chance to win 5 amazing Iron Frog t-shirts and an Amazon Echo Show. With that, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, very good. Thank you so much. And for those who haven't ever seen, the JFrog t-shirts are legendary. Like,
yeah, you can see it. So I'll stop sharing so you'll see my picture. You can see here. That's the Iron Frog.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a collection of JFrog t-shirts, and it's always a pleasure every year to see what they come up with. I have the best one, I think, was the Frog Father. That's my favorite.
Frog Father is classic. Oh yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is, I think that, if you have a question, now's the time. If you are, I know Zoom is a little bit different. If you feel more comfortable asking the question, you can just type it in there into the chat. But yeah, so let's open the forum. I guess I'll start a little bit, because one of the things that I remember, right, like on the DevOps side of things, is that we were always comfortable, or at some point in time, we were very comfortable with the idea of just rolling back, and it was to a point where it became almost like a non-issue. If something was released as a canary, we see there was problems. It's like, you try to fix it for 15, 20 minutes. That's sort of like the time box that we have. And it's like in 20 minutes, you make a decision. No, this is too hard. It's not a configuration. This will be something that we need to just fix. then just roll back, and that's it. And I remember like one of the big things that the realization in there was that there's nothing like there was permission to roll back, meaning like engineers like rollback can and will happen, and it doesn't mean that the code was not tested. It's just a reality that, like you say, staging is not perfect. All these environments are not perfect. By having that, it make the license a little bit easier.
Absolutely. There is nothing wrong. And all the idea of the blameless retrospectives and all that is that there is nothing wrong in releasing imperfect software, not because we're slacking around and we are not committed to quality, but just because it is virtually impossible today to release software which will be absolutely perfect for every scenario in real time, because staging is economically and practically not feasible anymore.
And I guess like thinking about like where we are, having what do you consider a fast sort of like a build deploy process? Like, are we talking like hours? Are we talking, less than an hour?
Hours are, if you, well, it obviously depends on the size of the project, but the
Hmm.
idea of microservices is exactly that, right? So you won't need to wait hours for the entire monolith to build, to be deployed, and then to start up. The idea of microservices, one of the advantages is that they are swappable, and since they are, as I mentioned, backwards and forwards compatible, they can always work with whatever version of other microservices that you throw on them. And this is how you can have every component in the system be able to take down and then take up the previous version, the rollback, in a matter of minutes. And this is where the size of the project doesn't matter, because each and every component, microservices, is small enough to be swapped in a matter of minutes.
Hmm. Now, since we're talking about cloud and starting up a new EC2 instance from Amazon does not take minutes.
You don't need a new EC2 instance on Amazon. That's exactly the idea. The containers bring it to, and the Kubernetes bring it to the question of, well, you need a new pod. New pod starts in seconds. And if it doesn't, it's on us, the developers. There we go. This is our responsibility to make sure that our code starts fast.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think even for the Docker containerization, that's like provisioning from Amazon takes a little while.
But you just have your Kubernetes cluster up and running. What you do is, how
Hmm.
do you have a progressive delivery? You have a swarm of pods, like you have a lot of pods. You take some of them and you update them. And if they don't work right, you just isolate them from service. You take them out of service. You have the rest of them still working, and you start to investigate those which are misbehave. Once you know what the problem is, you just kill them, and then you have new ones coming up with new version, with fixes and what's not.
Hmm.
You can we did it. Ray Tsang is in the news today. He joined Apple after many years in Google. uh,
Ray? Oh,
yep,
really?
yep,
Oh my
yep.
gosh!
he
Wow.
tweeted he tweeted about it probably like an hour ago. And you can Google for it. We did a talk with him about exactly that, about this pattern of when you have a cluster, then you can just isolate the, when you do a progressive delivery, you
Hmm.
update a couple of nodes, you see how they behave, or you stream some portion of traffic to them. If they misbehave, you take them out of
Auto
service,
rotation.
and then and then you start working on them when the rest of the service runs the previous version.
Got it. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess Apple is making big moves.
Oh yeah, I mean, they hired Arun,
I wrote
and
too.
Arun now is completely revolutionizes how they do their public facing work, all the
Ah.
open source, the contribution to open source and all that.
Wow. That's good change then.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Everything is for the best. We're super happy for Ray, and we obviously are very exciting to see what is going to do then.
All right. Well, do we have any other questions? Because I don't want to monopolize Baruch's time. So.
All right, folks. If there are no other questions, thank you very much for having me. Next time in person, I will bring stickers. You will bring real interaction. It's going to be
Amazing.
Going to be amazing. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I miss it so much.
Oh gosh,
And
yeah.
yeah. And I'll see you on soon. Thank you very much for coming. Don't forget, Jeff.com's show notes. The raffle is there, open until 8:30 Pacific time.
Mm-hmm. Baruch, I think, are you part of DevNexus? I don't know if you.
Yeah. We're speaking there, and we have some workshops, and I'll
Mhm.
probably do some interviews. We do a lot of stuff with DevNexus, especially considering that Vincent is with JFrog. So
Yeah. So for those folks who don't know, DevNexus is a conference that's coming up in February, and it's free this year since everything is online. So if you like what Baruch showed and you like his presentation, then check out his other presentations on there.
Yeah, I will have a talk on DevNexus. It will be another talk, also very entertaining, I promise you.
All right, everyone.